Hey, everybody, welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host, Calvin Logan, and I am honored to have another day that I'm above ground. God has been good to me. And here at the Logan Power Show, we want to make sure that we impact you with people who have power, people of an influence, people that know a lot more than I do. So, like I said, in all that I get, anybody get some understanding what the Bible says. Wisdom is the key ingredient to a fulfilled life. And so I got someone who's very fulfilled. She's got a lot of knowledge to give to us. She's the one and only Dr. Doretha Walker. How you doing, ma'am?
Hi, it's Doretha.
Doretha Walker. I'm sorry, Dr. Doretha
Walker.
Walker. How you doing today, ma'am?
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. Dr. Walker, tell us about your accomplishments, what you've done in your life. I know you've come up a long ladder of just great things you've done. So tell us about a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a graduate of University of Alabama, Roll Tide. I'm a Army veteran.
Yes, ma'am.
I got my master's degree while I was on active duty at night. Then I left the military and worked for logistics companies. And then I was working for, and also worked in nonprofits. And then as a working for a chemical manufacturing company, I decided to pursue my PhD.
Gotcha. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Now you're a veteran. How long in the military were you in the military for?
11 years.
11 years. Gotcha. And
Mhm.
what branch of service did you serve in?
Army.
Army. Gotcha. You ever
Yeah.
thought, were you like, so you were enlisted that time or officer?
I
What
was
were you?
an officer. I was in ROTC the last 2 years of college. So
Okay.
after I left college, I went to the military.
Absolutely. And right now you're currently a professor at this current time.
Right. I'm currently the program director for the College of Business at South University in Savannah.
Got it. Absolutely. And how is that going?
It's going, we're adapting to the to the situation just like everybody else.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Now, because things are changing, and now you have to always come with the creative ideas. As the fall approaches, we don't know if we're gonna get a chance to come to school, be online, things like that. Do you feel confident about this fall semester and trying to educate our youth?
Well, right now we're not out for the summer. We
Got it.
take our break in September. So right now what we're doing is, we have our online classes, but the people that like to be on ground, we have what's called virtual. So it's not Zoom, but it's a go-to-meeting. So today, right before this call, I had my last class of the day. So we meet just like I'm looking at you. I look at my students the same way.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Now, for instance, people that hey, getting a degree, doing kind of things that are going. A lot of times, the current 9 to 5 is as you can see, is always not the thing is always going to carry us. Just in your personal take, just from your personal experience, is entrepreneurship the way for our youth, or should be focused on hey, getting that dream job, that dream opportunity based off your experience?
I think it just depends on where you are in your life. You can do both. I have friends who start off in the 9 to 5 just so that they can get the experience and also the contacts, and then that springboards them off into their own entrepreneurial business. But then I know other people who never had a 9 to 5 and they just went straight. So it just depends on where you are, what is it that you want to do. Do you have the resources already, or what do you need to do to get the resources so that you can do that, your own business?
Gotcha, absolutely. Now, Dr. Walker, definitely roll tide. My father's a
Yeah.
big time. We are a big time Alabama roll tide family. My father is. Now, my mother went to UCLA, so it's a little different. Um, we got the Pac-12, we got the SEC
Yeah.
fight, fighting through. So, hey, definitely shout out to UCLA, shout out to University of Alabama. When you think about when you went to school, and how things were different and trying to get an education, and to compare to this now, um, do you feel that we have lost, or do we feel we had the same type of energy to get our degree like it would be when you went to school? 'Cause I know a lot of times, when you think about school opportunities, just like for gender, for women, sometimes it's
Mhm.
harder for women to get their opportunities, just like even in the military.
Mhm.
Like some people don't say like, well, she's a woman, but she's an officer. She has a big role. So do you feel like education, like people who go into education, do you feel that they're just as hungry as how you were when you went to school?
Well, I went to school right out of high school.
Hmm.
I went to college right out of high school, so I wasn't hungry like that. I was like, my parents said you're going to college, so there was no choice for me. So I went because that's what I was supposed to do.
Got it.
And so it took me a while to figure out. So my undergraduate degrees in secondary education, I did it because I figured I was smart. English was always easy for me, that this would be something that I can do. So I didn't have that hunger. But I see some of my students now, and I'm in a non-traditional school, so most of my students are 27, age 27 and older. They're more dedicated because most of them have been working, and they're either in the military. Some of them are still in the military, or they want to advance in their jobs. So my students are hungrier than I was, because they're like, okay, this is what I need to do to advance to the next step. I was right out of high school. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, let's just get this degree so we can do something else. So I wasn't focused like they are.
Absolutely. Now you are what we call I call you a pioneer in my life, due to the fact people like yourself paved the way for people like me to join the military. Um, just statistics wise, African Americans have served this country very well since it's been indoctrined since 1775. Um, and since 1865, since we've been allowed to join the military, we have paved the way for keeping this country safe. Just statistics wise, you being an officer, uh, African American officer, is even harder because sometimes people are overlooked, not just by their education. People look over because of the color of your skin, and especially when it comes to your gender. Um, how was it hard for you to obtain to become an officer in the military, or was it something like, hey, someone saw the best in you and you saw a pathway to get to the level you were while in the military?
Well, because I was in the ROTC, so it wasn't hard to become an officer.
Mm.
It was harder to be an officer, I guess.
Got it.
But I don't really have anything to compare it to, because my dad was a sergeant major, but I never saw, and he was a drill sergeant, and first sergeant and all that, but I never saw him struggle. And now we're talking, I found out that he did, but I didn't see it. So I don't know if it was harder for me to be an officer than not to be an officer, but it was definitely hard. And I wish that I had been enlisted first, because when I went in as a second lieutenant, I didn't know anything. I mean, honestly, other than, my dad took me to the armory and taught me how to assemble, disassemble M16, taught me how to use a compass, how to shoot an azimuth, back azimuth, how to read a map. So he did all those things, like running, push-ups, all that. So my dad had me as prepared as he could prepare me, I guess.
Mm.
But it was difficult, and I don't know if it would have been easier for me had I been enlisted, but I in my own mind, I think it would have been, because then when I went in as an officer, I would already have this foundation of things, like how it was. And because when I went in, I mean, I had this idea, but I was like really wrong.
Absolutely. So the way things are going with education, and you have a plethora of knowledge, where do you think, like, where we should take education, due to the fact I know that um Zoom is going to be some of our main source of communication during this COVID-19 pandemic, and a lot of times schools may have to shrink sizes down if they want to bring people into the room. um how do you think is a way that we can try to reach our youth? Because a lot of times there are people that don't have the internet access, and parents are using their cell phones to try to
The
mobile
digital
hotspot,
divide,
you
the
trying to get
digital divide. Mhm.
the digital age and trying to communicate back and forth. What are some things you see, like, personally been some successes that we should try to be using so that we don't fall behind coming this fall of 2020?
Well, for one thing, in our schools, we have the computer labs open. So students that, because you're talking about the digital divide is real, because I see it. I see it when we're doing the meetings, and students are in their bathrooms because that's the only quiet place in the house because everybody's home. And even if you have a great internet connection, when you have 10 people on it, and there's, before you be like, okay, the hours between this time and this time, it's really low usage. Well, not anymore because everybody's on it. I think we have our computer labs open, so our students that are in driving distance, that are having problems, they can come in and use our computers. So I think schools are doing that. I know the libraries around here are allowing people to park in the parking lot and use their Wi-Fi.
Got it.
So there's some creative ways that you can do that. Like, you can have a bunch of people meet and sit in the parking lot of a library so that everybody has internet access. Again, you're social distancing, you could do that. I mean, I had a student drive around in his car till he found a good Wi-Fi signal, and he parked in a random parking lot. And that's good for a limited amount, for a little while. But then when it got dark, I was like, dude, you got to go home because you're in this random parking lot. That's kind of not cool.
Got
So
it.
there are ways that you can do that. I mean, I've seen teachers go to students' houses and sit at the end of the driveway, and the students come outside. They're not close together, but the teacher's at the end of the driveway, and the students like in the front yard, and they're teaching that way. So it just depends on the needs of your students, and do you know what your students' needs are?
Absolutely. And for you right now, um, 2020, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of division.
Mhm.
There are things to where we are not respecting people in leadership. There's a lot of a lot of uproar. What's going on across the country? What are some things you want to see change to happen in the United States of America, just from your personal experience? What do you want to see happen?
I want to see people really say Black Lives Matter and mean it. Like right now, I mean, I get it, all lives matter, we all know that, but all lives don't matter, Black lives don't matter. And I think people are trying to be politically correct and say, okay, all lives matter, but you're special or whatever. I think, and it's in my own evolution. And I was on a podcast yesterday, and I said, before, I would be the one to help people be comfortable, and I would be like, okay, all lives matter, but not now. I'm like, no, Black lives matter. And again, not negating all the other people, but I think it's time for us to stop being politically correct and start standing up for our own. Stop trying to sing kumbaya and think love and light, just, you're loving and lighting on people, and we're praying for people. Yeah, I think all that works, but there needs to be some action behind it. And so I'm really proud when I see the younger generation take up the banner of civil rights, because for so long people were like, oh, civil rights is over. We can vote, we can we can marry who we want to, we get jobs, all that. But civil rights is not over, and I don't know that it ever is over, because there's always somebody else coming in that makes that you need to have civil rights for. So I think that we need to start standing up and say, no, we need to fix this problem, and the problem is racism, and we need to deal with that and stop interweaving it with other stuff, because you're right, it affects other stuff, but we need to tackle that problem, and we need to tackle it head on and stop being so nice about it.
Absolutely. Now, since I call you the smart nice because I see some of the stuff the stuff you share. She's like, well, just for your FYI, just want to put it out there. This
Yeah.
no, like I said, I'm just putting it out there. Like, hey, I understand. This is going on. Just for the FYI, it's a little out there. I just want to let you know that there's still things going on in
Right.
this country. Um, for you, an African American female who's very successful, and you see it a lot that there's a separation. You see it that where the African American male is put in this one perspective, and the African and female is put in this perspective. And you'll say, well, the African American female is excelling. You say, well, like I said, isn't she African American? So why can't you just be as successful as this person? And so like a separate gender, it's like a gender gap when it comes to African Americans. Then you also see a lighter and darker version
Yep.
gap as well. Just from your personal take, how can we stop some of those stereotypes? Because I believe that, like for you, you're very successful. You're a doctor. You've done a lot of things. And a male, you're African American, your age may not be a doctor. Maybe he got his undergrad. Maybe he didn't see that there. But that may be successful for that person. How can you think we can try to stop those stereotypes that's going on in this world?
Some of the smartest people I know have high school degrees or GEDs. So I don't think having a degree makes you smarter. Having a degree just gave me more access to know more than what I don't know. And also it allows me to navigate in spaces where other people may not be able to navigate. And also people think you're smart because you have you have those initials. For me, I never put anybody down that doesn't have a degree because I know smart people that who don't. But it's interesting because I'll hear, someone will ask me out and I'll say no. And then he's like, why? I'm not good enough for you because I don't have a PhD. Can it be I just don't want to go out with you? Why do you have to attach all this other stuff to it? Because all that other stuff, because generally when you walk up to me, I don't even know if you have a degree or not. And you're not going to know if I have a degree unless somebody tells you, you see me on Facebook. Because I don't run around telling people that. So when I think part of it is having that mutual respect. I don't have to, just because you ask me out, I don't have to go out with you. I just don't. Maybe I'm in a relationship. Maybe I just don't feel like being bothered. So to me, in my personal experience, that's where it starts is now you're holding this degree against me because I don't want to go out with you. I don't have to have a reason not to go out with you. I just don't want to. And then all of a sudden, you throwing my degree, you're throwing all this stuff in my face. Then I'm really not, then the nice part goes away. It's not, then I'm like, because that's disrespectful.
Mhm.
I don't think you should look down on people, degrees, jobs, or anything like that. And I agree because I think in the next 10 years, the African American woman is going to be the most educated people in this country. A lot of it, I think, is because some of the men do the jobs that get the money. So that's the more your more manual labor, like you're making $50 an hour, or things like that. So you're doing that kind of work, and that's fine because it brings in the money. But you have to go where you feel fulfilled. And you don't want me mowing anybody's grass. You don't want me. I've driven tanks before. I don't think you want me doing that. So, you have to go where your aptitude is. And I think we have to respect everybody's aptitude because everybody can't do the same thing. Everybody shouldn't do the same thing because everybody does the same thing. Then we get one product. We don't get multiple of things, and people think differently. And when you look at all the accomplishments that people have made across our race, if everybody was a farmer, then we wouldn't have educators, we wouldn't have pilots, we wouldn't have doctors, lawyers. But then if everybody was a doctor or lawyer, we wouldn't have the pilots or the farmers. So I think everybody has a piece of the puzzle. We just have to be better about respecting those other pieces that aren't your piece.
Wow, I told you she's good, y'all. That's Dr. Walker. She's a very humble lady. If you've ever followed her on, on Facebook, she doesn't toot her horn like this is what I've accomplished, but she acknowledges there is a problem and I just want to address it. And humility is a key to success, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about what you got. For me, that's why I reached out to her respectfully, saying like, "Hey, we should like to be a guest on the show." And her biggest thing, like,
A
man,
long
she's
time
it's
coming.
a long time.
Long
Cause
time
she,
coming.
yeah, cause she like her thing
Yes.
was, I'm a professor, Calvin. I work on these days and this, and you like, man, I gotta find a day where I gotta close the whole school down and say, hey, it's Dr. Walker's day. We're going to this. So that's why. So COVID-19 made it
Yeah.
that I made a Dr. Walker experience that I'm able to get her into the building
But
and
going
spend
back
it.
to what you said, I
Go ahead.
think it is important to toot your own horn
Sure.
because if you don't, somebody said if you don't toot your own horn, somebody else is going to turn it into a drum. And I'm
Mm,
not really sure what that means, but I think it means that you are the best teller of your own story. Don't let somebody else tell your story. So whenever I go to speak, I write my own introduction because I want you to introduce me how I want to be introduced.
sure.
So I think that we have to, and then also by telling our stories, then other people hear them, and it motivates them to do either do what we did or do something else. Because I remember when when Oprah came to Charleston, she was like, "Stop living your life so small, do stuff." So then, after listening to her, then I started the Walker Phenomenal Spirit Foundation. and it was like in my head, and I was like, okay, maybe. And then she's like, stop living your life so small. And I was like, okay, she's talking to me. Now I need to, I need to get on the ball. I need to do stuff. I need to be present and accounted for. I need to show up. I need to show people that things are possible. I need to show people that it's not necessarily easy, but it can be done.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Walker, final question, because I know you're definitely a busy lady. Um, what do you want people to say about you when it's all said and done? What do you want the legacy of Dr. Walker to be?
That's why I created the Walker Phenomenal Spirit Award, because it's funny, because I said I wanted to create my own legacy. I didn't want someone after I died to name a sandwich after me. Not that I'm that important, but I was like, I want to choose. And so for my legacy, I just want people to know that I stood up. I stood up. I stood up in the face of many, many things. I stood up.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it live at the Logan Power Show. Um, a woman who stood up for righteousness, a woman who does not allow um, the content of what you say to stop her from getting where she's getting. She doesn't allow she doesn't allow barriers to stop her. I'm gonna tell you this right now. This lady will bulldoze it through. She's a fighter. She's a believer she's a strong faith, and she will not let no one stop her from doing what she's doing. Now, for people to want to get in contact with you to be able to bring you into the building, how can they contact you, Dr. Walker?
You can call Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on Instagram. I haven't done that yet. I'm not on TikTok either. You can get me on Facebook, LinkedIn. I can give you my personal email address so that you can give it out to people.
Gotcha.
I'm easy to find, and I'm in
Absolutely.
Savannah, Georgia now.
Savannah, Georgia.
Yep.
Good old GA. Like I said,
Yep.
Savannah's a good place, y'all. I'll tell you right now, Savannah's a good spot. So she's living a good life. And we appreciate what she's doing. And so I want you all to remember this name, Dr. Walker. She will be in your homes, either with any kind of book or some on TV. Because I tell you right now, you need positive people in your life because they will encourage you. So I'm encouraged. I thank y'all for watching here at the Logan Power Show. My name is Calvin Logan. We love y'all, and we are signing out.